3 years and Anthony Davis locked up for 5. And let's start the conversation there with Big Perk. It's been too long since we've had Kendrick Perkins back here. Great to see you, big fella. So with that Laker news, let's say that's 3 years now they are assured of having AD and LeBron together. In those 3 years, how many championships did they win?
Well, Greeny, listen, all I've been hearing this whole offseason is that it's not that much money. Guys are not about to get paid. But guess what? Down there in L.A., guess what's happening? All I see is the Brinks trucks going up and down the highway, Greeny. And look, they are taking care of their superstars, and rightfully so. You have a guy who people call the Wash King in LeBron James. Guess what? Jenny Buss said he's not washed to us, and we go show you. We go extend him to a well-deserved $85 million contract. And then we're going to lock in our 27-year-old generational stud in Anthony Davis. Our duo is not going anywhere. And we have strong belief that over the next 4 years at least, that these two guys could be the best duo in the league and deliver more championships, and rightfully so. Job well done by the Lakers organization, Rob Pelinka and Rich Paul by getting it done.
I'm not letting you off the hook. How many? Next 3 years. Right now, those two guys are locked in for the next 3. How many of the next 3 rings do you think the Lakers get?
I think they get about 2, maybe. I think they get about 2, Greeny. And look, right now, LeBron is feeling rejuvenated. He knows that he's playing alongside Anthony Davis, and he wants to take advantage of it. And look, watch and see in the next couple of years, LeBron is going to defer to Anthony Davis, and Anthony Davis will be in the MVP conversation. So I see them winning at least 2 more championships.
Well, that's a really significant number, Kendrick Perkins, and you don't need me to tell you this, but just to remind everyone, LeBron has 4. 2 more would give him 6. What would 6 championships for LeBron James mean for his legacy?
Well, I know your partner in crime, Stephen A, is probably saying not a damn thing, but it would do everything for his legacy. It would shut up the old haters like Jalen Rose, my guy, who always going to keep Michael Jordan at the top, but it's going to put him right there in the conversation with Mike and prove those old haters wrong. So I'm rooting for old King James to go ahead and get his 6 titles.
All right, again,
36 years old this month. His career earnings thus far, $435 million. So he will be an owner of an NBA team. Now, that's in Cleveland, would they own an NBA team? Trust and believe that.
How about that? He's always talked about being a mogul. There's nothing bigger than that.
He always thinks about his business. I mean, even the other day on the podcast, he was talking about he wanted to bring on Luka Doncic to be the first LeBron James shoe. Like he wanted that to do that internally within Nike before Michael Jordan got it. He's always thinking about his business and his properties that way.
It's a great point. Speaking of Michael, Michael had a couple sons that played basketball, and I can only imagine the pressure on these guys. And your dad is the GOAT, the greatest player to ever dribble a basketball. But his son Marcus and his son Jeffrey played. Most notably, they had a little bit of a stint. UCF, transferred to Illinois, but obviously, the mantle that dad set, the bar that dad set, so difficult for both Marcus and Jeffrey, who have been successful in their lives, just not the way, obviously, their dad was on the court. LeBron James has a 16-year-old son you may have heard about named Bronny. He's a sophomore in high school, and this extension for LeBron, the 2 years, will get him to 2022, 2023, right around the time that Bronny would be eligible to join the NBA. LeBron was on the Uninterrupted podcast, which he has a financial stake in. Speaking of mogul, always got his hands in something, right? He is a businessman, as Jay-Z would say. You guys probably didn't think I knew that. But LeBron essentially weighing in and essentially saying about a year and a half ago that I don't care how many titles I win. I don't care if I go back to Cleveland and win one. I don't care if I win one with the Lakers, whatever. The best thing that could ever happen to me on a basketball court, no matter how many Larry O'Briens I hoist, would be this.
What was the greatest achievement of my life? If I'm on the same court as my son in the NBA, that will be number 1 in my lifetime as an NBA player. Play together or play against.
Jay, is this a possibility of happening?
He's LeBron James. He's arguably the greatest player to ever play the game, regardless of whether you have him 1, 2. I know Paul Pierce has him in the, just barely in the top 5, which is ludicrous, by the way. But still.
It is.
Like, he's the greatest player in the game. So my thing is, Bronny James.
I know, but I'm just hearing it again.
Well, that's Paul Pierce. That's a whole different conversation. I don't want to go on a tangent. Let's get back here to what we were talking about. All I'm saying is Bronny James is in a position to go to a top-tier college. If he goes to a top-tier college and if he plays decently,
continue to develop,
consider he continues to develop, he'll being in the G League, being overseas. But this reality of business is all about relationships. It's all about relationships. You cannot tell me, now that could be with the Lakers or it could be with another organization, that a team would not draft Bronny James, granted he keeps developing, okay?
That's the key.
In order for him to potentially say, hey, maybe your dad would like to come here and play with you at the tail end of his career. That would do, and Key just talked about this, the incentivization. Is that even a word? I just made it up. I said it.
It is now.
It is now. For a team to do that, to say, come to my organization, increase the value of my organization, fill the seats with fans, and play with your son and live out your dream at the tail end. If the Lakers can't do that, some organization will take a chance on Bronny James to do that.
As long as he continues to develop, I mean, it's hard. Look, he's not a 6'7" freshman. You know what I'm saying? He's a smaller guard that's a freshman in high school that has some time to develop into his body. When you think about LiAngelo Ball 6 years ago was a itty-bitty dude.
You mean LaMelo?
I mean LaMelo.
LaMelo. There's a lot of balls.
Yeah, it's a lot of them. He was a small. Now he's a 6'7 and a half, 6'8 guard. Mm-hmm. So as he continues to grow and get better at it, then yes, I'm an owner of the Sacramento Kings, for instance. Just use that team. I'm willing to sign LeBron James to help me build an infrastructure, fan base, whatever it is that we're looking for at that time. And if I draft his son and bring him on the team, that son, obviously, we're not just drafting the guy because he's walking down the street. He's got to have some ability to be able to play, right? And so you would think that LeBron James and his crew is making sure that his son is developing at that level where he'll be able to live that dream. I hope he continues to develop.
But Bronny James does not need to be 6'7" to be drafted. You can draft.
No, you don't need to be 6'7". I'm just saying, as you continue, because he's so young, how hard is it to evaluate somebody in the 9th grade?
No, I think he's a sophomore.
He's a sophomore. 10th grade.
10th grade.
Yep.
All I'm going to say, though, is let's say hypothetically, and this won't happen because obviously being around great players and having access to the resources and facilities, his game will continue to blossom, continue to develop. But let's say hypothetically his game doesn't develop and it stays the same. Maybe he just grows a couple inches. Maybe he's 6'3", 6'4". You're going to take a chance on him in the second round because of the opportunity. Because of the opportunity that LeBron James might come to your organization. I'm just saying if you're an owner or if you're an owner or a GM, you're looking at this differently, especially if he doesn't develop in the second round, later in the second round. So many teams stash people in overseas for 4 or 5 years.
Yeah, let him develop.
Yeah, you're telling me you wouldn't do that with Bronny James for the opportunity to bring LeBron James to your organization to increase awareness? You talk about an injection or an infusion of energy with Russell Westbrook going to D.C. Mm-hmm. Why wouldn't you look at this situation the same thing if you're an owner or a GM?
I think that's a great point.
No, you do. And to my note, the only professional athlete father-son duo was Ken Griffey Jr. That's the only one that I can think. I've been sitting here trying to think. I know there's a lot of fathers who's played, whether it's Michael Thompson and Clay or the Berry family, but not at the same time.
I'm glad you mentioned that because I want to give you some context on age. You mentioned LeBron here at 36 and what essentially is going to happen when Bronny is 16, 20